never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason to.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today, here on the channel, I want to talk some wrestling as always. Any thoughts on it, please feel free to let me know. Last night, we had a special edition of AEW Rampage. Of course, if you watch the show, you know usually it comes on Friday nights, but this week it came on Saturday night because of the NBA playoffs. Hopefully, you watched it because Slim J, who has came to UWF 2 times in the past 2 months in Colbert, Georgia. He was on AEW Rampage last night. Hopefully you tuned in and seen him. Also, we have WWE Backlash, or as they call it now, WrestleMania Backlash, coming up a little bit less than 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks from yesterday, as it comes your way on Saturday, May the 6th. They announced on SmackDown Friday night that Seth freaking Rollins will be facing Omos at Backlash, and I don't really, truly, fully understand what they're doing now with Omos. It's like he's never on TV anymore, but then all of a sudden, come time for a premium live event, he has a match. Now, how do these matches keep happening? I don't know. It's strange. He used to be on Raw on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden, he's not anymore. He wasn't on Raw for a good month before WrestleMania. Then all of a sudden, he has a match with Brock Lesnar, and he hasn't been seen since WrestleMania, and now he has a match with Seth freaking Rollins coming up at Backlash. NXT has a pretty big show this upcoming Tuesday night. I believe it's going to be titled Spring Breakin'. It's actually one of their bigger shows of the year, but NXT has a great thing going. I talk about it all the time, and I really like the fact that even most of their big shows actually come live on USA. So you ain't got to have Peacock to see what NXT is doing. Really, truly, only 4 or 5 of their big shows come on Peacock. The rest of them come on live on Tuesday nights, which is their usual slot time on the USA Network. And then we have the WWE Draft coming up this Friday on SmackDown, and then next Monday on Raw. And I heard reports in the middle of last week that said Triple H will be fully in control of all of creative coming up after the draft. He has big things in mind for several superstars, complete character changes. So we'll find out who goes to Raw, who goes to SmackDown, and then what all Triple H has in store immediately after that. So no more questions about who's running it. It'll clearly be Triple H. So good, Triple H gets credit. Bad, Triple H gets blame. We have a lot of fans now that want to give Triple H the credit when something's good, but when something's bad, they want to blame somebody else. You can't do that. If Triple H is running it and he's fully running it, he gets the credit when it's good and he gets the blame when it's bad. That's only fair. That's the way it has to be. And a lot of people complain about how wrestling has changed over the years. And I want to quickly try to explain some of the things that have changed, just in case you're new to the wrestling watching. You may not really understand the differences between wrestling back then and wrestling now. And some things you can change, some things you can't change. But if you've been watching wrestling for 30 plus years, you already know the big differences. One difference is back in the day, all the wrestlers had great characters. Whether they were good or bad, they had a great character, a great gimmick, and it was fun to either love them or fun to hate them. But nowadays, people get so offended by everything that you do, it's hard for anybody to have any personality on wrestling without offending somebody. So when you do that, it can be boring because you've got a bunch of generic wrestlers with no personality. But as soon as you give them any kind of personality in any kind of way, somebody gets offended by it. If you watch SmackDown and have been watching SmackDown for a long time, you remember Muhammad Hassan back in the day. That was a great, great character. But people got offended by it. If you recall the Mordecai character, that was a great gimmick, a great character, but people got offended by it. Just a couple of years ago, people got offended by Bray Wyatt. So it's hard for these wrestlers to have any kind of character development when everything that you do offends somebody. So then you're left with boring, no personality wrestlers, and then they're boring and nobody wants to see them. But another thing that's changed is used to you could sit down and watch wrestling on TV and just see two guys have a 15 to 20 minute wrestling match with no outside interference, nothing. Just two guys having a 15 to 20 minute wrestling match with a clean finish, and that would be how the match would end. Nowadays, you don't see that. When's the last time and how many times can you watch wrestling on TV, whether it's Raw, whether it's SmackDown, whether it's Dynamite, whether it's Impact, and see two guys have a 15 to 20 minute one-on-one wrestling match? It very rarely happens. There's either outside interference, they've got to use chairs, they have to use ladders, they have to use steps, and all that. And that's not wrestling. It used to be when you watched wrestling on TV, they just had wrestling matches and they saved all the other stuff for the pay-per-view because they were trying to entice you to buy the pay-per-view. And if you show everybody everything you've got on Monday night or Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whatever night it is, they have no reason to spend the extra money to buy the pay-per-view because they've seen everything you've got. Well, nowadays, these guys go out there and have 20-minute matches, and they do everything in their arsenal on TV. Well, then there's no reason to buy the pay-per-view. You've seen everything. AEW's gotten so bad that most people now call it parkour. And parkour is a legitimate thing. If you're not sure what it is, go look it up. But AEW, every match they have has 19,475 moving parts. And that's not necessary. Just have a wrestling match. And I was watching AEW the Wednesday before last, and I can't for the life of me recall what match it was, but it was announced as a one-on-one wrestling match. But yet the guys are outside the ring for 4 or 5 minutes, and the referee is just standing in the ring, not even counting. And that's not believable. That's not wrestling. Unless the match is announced as a hardcore match or a no count out match or something like that, then the ref doesn't count. You're not supposed to count. But if it's a regular one-on-one wrestling match and the guys go outside the ring and the ref is in the ring just standing there, that's stupid. Everybody in the world that watches wrestling knows when the guys go outside the ring, the referee is supposed to count. But AEW just kind of does their own thing now where their rule book doesn't even apply. But that's the referee's job. If you're not going to count when the guys are outside the ring in a one-on-one match, why are you even there? So those are a couple of the things that have made wrestling change over the years. And that's why I'm always on here encouraging everybody to come to all the independent shows that I referee at. Obviously, of course, I want you there, but also independent wrestling is what professional wrestling was 30 years ago. If you come to an indie show, not only are you going to see just as good, if not better, wrestling on the indie scene than you see on Monday nights or Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights or Friday nights, but it's also cheaper, and if you're in person, you're closer than being on your TV, but also you can come and just watch wrestling matches where guys just get in the ring and wrestle, and they don't need steps in every match. They don't need ladders in every match. They don't have to climb 100-foot ladders in every match. They can go out there and just have one-on-one wrestling matches the way wrestling is designed to be. And one more quick note, rumor going around is that AEW is going to be starting a brand new show coming up in June. I believe, supposedly the rumor is it's going to debut, I believe, on June the 17th, which is the week AEW is going to be in Chicago. Of course, we know that that is the home of CM Punk. So the rumor is the night it debuts is the night CM Punk is going to make his AEW return, because he is still under AEW contract. But supposedly the new show is going to be called Collision, and it's going to come on from 8 to 10 Eastern Time every single Saturday night. AEW is going down the same route of WWE, and they're going to be splitting their roster, which is something they should have done a long time ago. I've told my wife for a solid year and a half now that AEW sucks because they have way too many wrestlers that don't get used, because 2 hours on Wednesday night is just not enough time to use 465 wrestlers. But the difference is, the rumor is this time around it's because CM Punk is returning and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks will not work with CM Punk. So they get their way, because we know Tony Khan is not going to stand up to anybody. So he's going to put CM Punk on one show and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks on the other show. But I guess come June we'll find out whether or not that is true. Everybody knows by now that I have never liked CM Punk. I cannot stand CM Punk. But in this case, in this scenario, in this situation, I'm on CM Punk's side because the whole thing between CM Punk and AEW started when Hangman Adam Page went out on TV and cut a promo about CM Punk without telling anybody he was going to do it. But of course, Hangman Adam Page is a friend of the Young Bucks and a friend to Kenny Omega, so they're not going to say anything to him. So CM Punk did what anybody would do if somebody trashes you and you don't know about it on national TV. You're going to stand up for yourself. So CM Punk did that. They had all that backstage drama, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are trying to make everybody think it was all CM Punk's doings when it's not. Hangman Adam Page started it, but CM Punk has said numerous times over the past 4 or 5 months that he wants to come back, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks do not want him back. And the reason they don't want him back is because the highest rated television viewing audience AEW's ever had since they've been on TV was the night CM Punk made his debut. And since Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are the EVPs of AEW, they don't like anybody outdrawing them because they think they are awesome, but they are not. They are the drizzling craps. All 3 of them are the drizzling craps, and they don't like being outdrew by CM Punk because he outdraws them, he outwrestles them, and he's way better than they are on the microphone. And CM Punk wants to come back. And of course, Tony Khan wants to bring him back because as of right now, you're giving CM Punk these checks for over $1 million, and he is going to cash them checks, and he is doing absolutely nothing. So, of course, Tony Khan wants to bring him back because you are paying this guy to do nothing. And CM Punk is being professional, wanting to come back, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks do not want him to come back. So, supposedly, the new show is going to be to separate CM Punk and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So, come June, we'll find out whether or not that is true. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why did the biology teacher break up with the physics teacher? There was no chemistry. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.